Welcome to CBC Windsor News at 6. I'm Meg Roberts. Thanks so much for spending part of your evening with us tonight. The Windsor Islamic Association and the Public School Board are having constructive meetings. That's following pride flag protests and remarks made to students by a teacher, plus a call from the Windsor Essex Children's Aid Society looking for more foster parents. The organization says it's reached a critically low point, and the Windsor Spitfires have named a new head coach. We'll tell you who that is coming up later in the show. 2 tornadoes touched down in Chatham, Kent and Lambton County last week. That's according to the Northern Tornadoes Project, a group that investigates tornado occurrences. One of the tornadoes caused major structural damage to a home near South Buxton, forcing homeowners out of the house.
We spoke to the homeowners. They were, all things considered, they were in very good spirits. I think they were just, happy that, their family wasn't hurt in the event. So that's what matters most. Houses can be replaced, people can't.
That's what the damage looked like at that home near South Buxton. In addition to the 2 tornadoes that hit, the researchers say there were 4 downbursts. Now, a downburst is a large column of air that hits the ground at one spot and spreads out. That's in comparison to tornadoes, which moves along a random path on the ground. Now, 3 of the 4 downbursts hit in municipalities in Lambton County. The 4th hit Wardsville in Chatham, Kent. We're hearing more about concerns related to a national walkout at schools when the pride flag was being raised. This all happened at the beginning of June. Since then, the Windsor Islamic Association tells CBC they've had constructive talks with the Public School Board. The Windsor Mosque is about 200 meters away from Northwood Public School, where many Muslim students go. But on June 1st, the majority of students at that school were absent. It was meant to send a message that they don't agree with certain LGBTQ content being taught in schools. Just last week, independent online media outlet True North released an audio recording. You can hear what appears to be a teacher expressing disgust that many students were absent for the pride flag raising. She said these things in class to her students the following day. CBC News has not been able to independently verify the authenticity of the recording. Have a listen to a short excerpt.
It was hatred towards a community of people, and it was incredibly disgusting to have witnessed. I do not want to be a part of this school. I am so disgusted with what happened yesterday.
The school's principal sent out a letter to parents apologizing for what they describe as inappropriate comments. The Greater Essex County District School Board won't say whether that teacher is still at the school or in the same classroom, but they say it's being addressed internally. The Windsor Islamic Association also sent us a statement in response to what unfolded at Northwood Public School. A spokesperson says, "We are happy to report that the school and the board have taken steps to address some of the concerns brought forward by the parents and students. We trust that the school board will continue to work diligently to address the remaining concerns." The head of the local Parents for Parents rights group says he met with officials at the Windsor Mosque and has concerns of his own after hearing the recordings.
The first time I heard it, I was in tears because I could not believe that they would talk to children that way, especially children of faith. I could just picture my daughters having that, right, if somebody was talking about Christ that way, right? So it was very, very hard. I think she should stick to teaching the curriculum, right? Again, I really think it was super inappropriate.
The Windsor Essex Children's Aid Society is trying to encourage more people of different backgrounds to foster kids. This year, they're partnering with the local Pride Fest to help. The Children's Aid Society says there's a critical need for foster parents right now. They're currently caring for 400 children, and there are only 100 foster homes available. The foster parent recruiter for the Children's Aid Society says the poor economy might be to blame.
Things are tight right now, and I think people might be, questioning, the ability to bring children into their homes, despite the fact that there are financial supports in place for people who do want to foster. We like to have a large pool of foster parents so we can make the best match if children do need to come into the care of the society. So we are really actively recruiting foster parents from all religions, all cultural backgrounds.
An information session will take place on August 3rd at the Children's Aid Society. People will have the opportunity to hear from LGBTQ families who have gone through the fostering process. Well, Ontario Health Minister Sylvia Jones says the province is starting 3 programs aimed at bolstering staffing in the healthcare sector. One is directed at internationally educated doctors. They'll be able to undergo an assessment to see if they can practice in Ontario immediately.
This will add over 50 new physicians to our healthcare workforce by 2024.
There's also a $40 million fund to encourage healthcare providers to better connect patients to services and a nursing mentor program. The initiatives were previously announced but are now launching. It comes as hospitals across the province grapple with a shortage of nurses that has led to dozens of temporary ER closures. Well, local auto unions are ramping up for contract talks. Bargaining with the big 3 automakers officially starts on August 10th, with contracts expiring in September. The chair of Unifor's Auto Council says pensions, wages, and worker security are the union's main priorities, areas he says the industry was once leading, but not any longer. Another layer of complexity when negotiating, he says, will be the production of electric vehicles and what that means for members.
We have our quarterly meetings with the company, and we tell them, listen, there's some huge issues out there. And when you look at the combination of the transition, right? We have a transition happening when we go from the combustion engine to BEV. While that transition is happening, there's going to be a lot of people out of work getting that site ready. So we got to make sure those workers are not impacted in a negative way. So there's a lot of work to do, and I'm positive. I'm very positive.
The federal government has unveiled a plan to ban some fossil fuel subsidies. This is in response to a promise G20 leaders made years ago to phase out those subsidies that are deemed inefficient. But as Kyle Bax reports, some environmentalists feel the government needs to go further.
After committing to cutting subsidies to the oil patch more than a decade ago, the federal government announcing how it wants to tackle those financial supports.
What we're eliminating are federal support that are directed at the oil and gas sector, and that gives the oil and gas sector an economic advantage over other sectors, and in that case to produce oil, gas, or coal.
There won't be an instant change. Instead, Ottawa unveiling a proposed framework. It would apply to 129 tax and non-tax measures to see which supports for the oil patch will stay and which will go. No dollar figures were provided, so at this point it's difficult to gauge what impact it could have on the oil patch.
We need to make sure that if governments change, if priorities change, the policies stay essentially consistent, because companies are betting billions and billions of dollars on this over the next decades to allow them to reduce their greenhouse gas intensity, and they need to have enough clarity to reduce the risk of that.
The federal government is clear it intends to keep providing funding to the industry toward reducing emissions, including the construction of carbon capture and storage projects. That alone could mean tens of billions of dollars of support over the next few decades. Environmental groups are pleased this long-awaited policy is finally here, but they wish it went further, since the federal government intends to keep providing subsidies to the oil patch for many years to come. Kyle Bax, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, another announcement from the federal government today, providing details about the new 988 mental health line opening across the country this fall. It will allow people in crisis, including here in Windsor, Essex, to access immediate intervention and counseling services with a single phone call. It's a partnership between the Feds and the Centre for Addiction and Mental Health in Toronto.
I'm announcing an investment of $156 million over 3 years to CAMAID to support the implementation and operation of 988, Canada's new 3-digit number for suicide prevention and emotional distress. As of November 30th, 2023, 988 will be available to call or text in English and French 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to everyone in Canada. No organization can deliver 988 service alone, and CAMH will continue to develop the partnerships and collaborations to build out that 988 network to meet demand and ensure the quality of the service.
Bennett says the new line will be modeled on the successful Kids Help phone established in 1989. The U.S. launched a 988 crisis line last July. Well, Windsor's first ever festival to celebrate the local African community is currently underway. The Windsor International Diaspora African Festival kicked off yesterday with a combined run and walk along the riverfront. The week-long event is also looking at ways to be more environmentally friendly.
We'll have our vendors all the way from Africa, each part of Africa, with music, culture, drums, stuff to wear, like the hats, the clothings. They're going to be vendors to sell their product and looking for partners who have stores here in Windsor or across Canada to kind of like to do business. So on the 27th of July, show up. It'll be a business summit, so you can, and then on the 28th, it's a grand opening ceremony right here. It is your city to lift that beautiful city you have. And not only that, the 29th is a parade. So the culture, the music, the drums. If you like the parade and you like to see your city shining and glowing, come, because it's a grand opening for bringing the culture and business together, because people know Caribana, people know Afrofest. So just imagine, combine and the business summit together. So we're here to lift our Canada, our diaspora, our African continent.
At every opportunity, I try to use it to support, the climate change. I come from a very, very hot climate. So if it gets any hotter than that, I don't know what is going to happen to the people that lives there. So we decided we're going to try. And I tell everybody we are going to try to make sure that everything that is used is reusable and compostable. So we're trying to avoid people bringing in water bottles in a plastic. We have bottled waters that we can refill their water bottles. So a goal is to have a festival yearly that is zero waste. It helps our community to realize that we are not alone. So it's not an African thing, it's an everybody thing. So to have the support of not just the councillors, the MPs, and the city itself is huge encouragement for us.
Well, a different face will be leading the Windsor Spitfires this upcoming season, but he's a familiar one on the team's bench. Jared Smith has been named the new head coach of the team.
We want to be a team that's ultra competitive and in shape, detailed with our habits and our work. We're going to be prepared. We're going to be unselfish. We're going to be a team that plays for each other.
Smith certainly knows the organization well. He's worked for the Spits for more than a decade, including as assistant coach. He's going to have big shoes to fill, as the previous head coach, Mark Savard, was hired by the Calgary Flames in June. The Spits general manager says Smith's experience with the franchise separated him from other applicants.
It was an extensive search in the sense that a lot of people wanted and applied for this position, but at the end of the day, the right choice was right here in the building. So over the years, Jared has, he's left his mark daily.
Well, coming up, lots of people are talking about the Barbie movie. We caught up with some excited fans. Plus, the weather has taken us on a wild ride these past few weeks. Are we in for more turbulent conditions? Meteorologist Colette Kennedy will tell us more after the break. Well, the new Barbie movie brought people out in record numbers over the weekend. It had the biggest opening weekend this year with $155 million US in ticket sales. A lot of people are talking about it right here in Windsor, so we sent our video producer Mike Evans out to see what people think.
Barbie. The Barbie movie.
Have you guys seen it yet?
No.
What have you heard about this movie so far?
It's a pretty good movie, I've heard, so I'm excited. I asked my uncle to come with me. He said no.
And why did he say no?
He doesn't like Barbie.
So my daughter got to go see it yesterday. She said that it was lovely. What are you guys expecting? What have you heard about this movie so far?
I've heard there's some pretty big actors in the movie, so I'm excited.
So have you guys talked to people who have seen this movie, and did they tell you it was a good time?
No, I've just seen it on social media a lot.
Talk a little bit about that. What did you see on social media?
Just seeing that lots of famous actors are in it. It's pretty good. Yeah, and funny.
It's going to be a good movie. I've heard that a lot of people have really liked it.
Have you had any friends that have seen the movie yet, or are you guys just going into this based on word of mouth?
I haven't heard anything from my friends.
We were just wanting to hang out, and then I had an idea that we should go to the movies, and then my grandma said, oh, the Barbie movie is on, and then so we just decided to go.
Madison, you're here to see the Barbie movie. Tell me about what's your level of excitement?
Very excited.
What is it about this movie that's got so many people excited about it?
I think just the history of Barbie and just how she's such a great icon and all her fashion and stuff like that. At least that's what I'm excited for. A lot of my friends actually haven't seen it yet, so it's all kind of new to us still. Yeah, it's very exciting to kind of have everyone enjoy a movie like that.
So I talked to you guys on the way in, and you're leaving now. Was the movie as good as you thought it would be?
It was better than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, so it lived up to expectations. What was the best part?
The whole movie was the best part, honestly. I liked the whole movie.
When the Barbies returned to Barbie Land instead of Ken Land.
And would you recommend it? Would you see it again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And would you recommend it to your friends?
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Well, Colette, I want to let you know that we have a bit of an audience tonight. Meet Barbie and Ken. Now, these aren't mine, and to be honest, I wasn't a huge Barbie girl growing up, but the excitement that those viewers were displaying kind of has me excited to maybe go see it. What about you?
Yeah, I hope Barbie and Ken enjoy our show as much as, some of them seem to be enjoying it. I think I'll see it just because it seems so like campy and kind of fun, and I don't know. It seems like there must be a sort of feminist twist on it, too, because it's Greta Gerwig. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
If everyone's seeing it, we might as well.
Yeah, exactly. But I can't comment until I do, so we'll see how that goes. And let's go ahead and show you what's going on. Hey, here at home, Barbie, Ken as well, looking at our current temperatures, and we've got 28 degrees in Windsor, 26 Chatham, Kent, Sarnia in there as well at 27. Where the temperatures came down a little bit in the province, they were up there too, was where we had more rainy weather and some thunderstorms that rolled through. For southwestern Ontario, the activity has stayed primarily to the west in Michigan, but that's starting to track our way too. So some downpours here. You can see it's localized, but still, those are coming our way. The stuff further east is kind of winding down, and that's the big picture. So the watches and warnings are in eastern Ontario, or the Niagara region has a severe thunderstorm warning there. The timing of this should be kind of helpful in the sense that we're getting near the end of the day. I always talk about that energy from the sun. So yes, even some of these cells that are there in Michigan will start to kind of peter out and lose their energy here. But still some lightning strikes. You still have to take that seriously. As that rolls through, then through the overnight we'll be drying out. A little bit of that moisture could provide us with some patchy fog development. So a few areas tomorrow morning. And then most of the day looking really nice into Tuesday. I would expect staying dry. Any isolated pop-ups are just so isolated and probably more to the north and to the east. But then we go to Wednesday. Wednesday also starts out very well, but we'll get a little more cloud cover. And then into the later afternoon and evening hours, I do want you to be prepared. So midweek there, we're going to have the temperatures building, the humidity building as we go through this week. And so that's going to be some of the fuel for this to become a little bit more widespread and pack a bit more of a punch. So again, that's later on Wednesday. Not all the models are in agreement, so we're going to revisit this tomorrow if you come back here with us. Overnight tonight, though, I mentioned the fog. The temperatures, that's kind of boring. Everyone, same temperature overnight. I've got us all at 17 degrees. And then tomorrow, here we go. So 30 for the high, feeling closer to 35. And then we get into the low 30s, and those humidex values will be climbing closer to 40. So that oppressive summertime heat that you might think of for July, that's coming back our way.
I am hearing that thunder right here in the studio now. Thanks so much for that, Colette.
Yeah, on the doorstep.
We have more details on a devastating flood that happened in Nova Scotia over the weekend. More on that coming up after the break. Officials in Nova Scotia say they have found 2 of 4 people who went missing in massive flooding over the weekend. The RCMP confirmed the body of a 52-year-old man has been recovered. Other remains were found in different areas, but police are not releasing any details about the identity of that person. The 4 missing people were in 2 separate vehicles that were swept away. A man and a youth were in one vehicle and 2 children in the other. CBC's Paul Palmeter has the latest.
Well, I can tell you it's been a very, very long day for searchers in this area. This is the 3rd day now of searching for 4 people who went missing in this terrible flash flood that happened in this area on Friday night and into Saturday morning is when it really, really got bad here. And police actually did confirm today that their search has found 2 people. Now, they've had helicopters in the air here all day, yesterday as well. They've been searching by boat, kayaks, hovercraft. They've been using everything they have to try to find these 4 people. And today, in a late afternoon news conference, they confirmed that 2 people were found.
At approximately 9 a.m. this morning, the body of a 52-year-old Windsor man who had been reported missing was located by searchers in the primary search area. Then, at approximately 11:30 a.m. This morning, human remains were located by civilians in Kings County, Nova Scotia. At this time, we are working with the Nova Scotia Medical Examiner's Office in identifying the remains, and we are unable to provide further details at this time.
Heartbreaking day for our province. The 4 missing souls and their families have been on everyone's minds across the province, and it's difficult to comprehend the magnitude of the tragedy and the loss that we're feeling today. So my sincere condolences to the family. We can rebuild roads and bridges and buildings, but we can't bring people back. And the legacy for these floods will be incredibly tragic.
So 2 people remain missing, and the 2 that were found, of course, quite a distance away from each other. One was in the area where the search was happening here in Hants County. The second body where they found human remains was in Kings County, which, as the crow flies, is quite a distance away, or if you drove, it's quite a distance away, but as the water flows, it really isn't. And these are tidal rivers that they've been searching, and of course the tide coming in and out to the Bay of Fundy. Now, the search will continue for the rest of the night and again tomorrow. There are still 2 people who are missing here, and the stories that we're hearing in this area, some amazing rescues. Let's start with that, including one person who was actually plucked from a tree by a helicopter over the weekend. Hard to believe that happened, but it did, and thank goodness, because that person is alive today to talk about it. And the damage to roads, saw all kinds of crews working on roads that washed out. Of course, there are so many bridges that were just crumpled, essentially, in some areas, including here in Hants County. But there's a lot of mess in this area for sure. Paul Palmeter, CBC News, near Windsor.
Of course, hoping for the best there in Nova Scotia. Well, that's it for CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, go to our website at cbc.ca/Windsor. We're on social media too. You can check us out. Thanks so much for tuning in. Looking forward to seeing you back here tomorrow night.